Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly life-altering realization from a guy named William. Just imagine for a second, waking up one day at 77 years old and realizing you've spent the last half-century, literally 50 years of your life, sprinting as fast as you can toward a finish line that doesn't actually exist. Well, that is exactly what happened to William. He realized he had burned 50 years trying to fill a hole inside himself with all the wrong things.
Okay, let's dive into this. I spent 50 years running toward a finish line that didn't exist. Just let that sink in. William spent 5 whole decades of his life trying to cure this deep feeling of inadequacy with external achievements. We're talking money, promotions, houses. He chased the whole shebang. He was absolutely convinced that if he just acquired enough stuff, he'd finally feel like he mattered. He bet the emotional stakes of his entire life on these things, and ultimately, they left him feeling completely empty.
And honestly, this brings us to an incredibly universal trap that pretty much all of us fall into at some point. We constantly tell ourselves, I'll be happy when. You know the drill. I'll be happy when I get that promotion, when I finally pay off the house, when I retire, or maybe when people finally respect me. But as William found out the hard way, when you actually get those things, the finish line just moves. You think you're finally there, but you look up and nope, the goalpost has completely shifted. Section 1. The view from the top and William's origin story. So how does a person get caught in such an exhausting cycle? Well, it maps out a bit like this. At just 10 years old, William watched his hardworking dad, a factory worker, get completely disrespected by society. And right then and there, he decided, I'm going to be somebody. Flash forward to age 25, he's working 60 to 70 hours a week. He's missing his kids' baseball games, missing dinners. Basically, missing his own life. Fast forward again to 52, and hey, he seemingly wins. He becomes vice president, gets the corner office, gets his name on the door, the whole deal. But it wasn't until age 73 that he finally realized he could have just given himself that validation from the very start. His relentless drive for respect literally cost him the best moments of his life. Because when he finally reached that VP corner office, when he shut the heavy door and looked out that big window, he just felt completely hollow. He sat there, an incredibly successful man by any of society's standards, and realized he'd climbed all the way to the top of this massive mountain, only to find absolutely nothing there. Just another mountain. He gave up everything for basically nothing. Just think about this number for a second. 48. That represents the 48 years William completely wasted from age 25 all the way to 73, trying to earn a feeling of being enough. He spent nearly a half a century trying to get permission from the outside world to feel worthy. And the tragic part? That feeling was already his to claim on day one.
Section 2. Providing versus being present, and the marriage disconnect.
Now, this chasing mentality didn't just hollow out his career, it took a massive toll on his family too. See, there's a really stark contrast between providing and being present. William thought his only job as a husband was to provide, buying the house, upgrading the cars, paying the bills. And man, he provided the heck out of that marriage. But being present, that is an entirely different ballgame. Being present means looking at your partner, actually hearing them, physically and mentally being in the room. William was paying the bills, sure, but emotionally, he was a ghost. This whole disconnect culminated in a really devastating moment. His wife looked at him and said, William, I don't need the money. I need you. I need you to be here. Because even when William was physically sitting right there on the couch, mentally, he was miles away. He was either stressing about work or just way too exhausted from the daily grind to be any kind of real company. It's a perfect example of that massive, painful gap between financial provision and actual emotional presence. Section 3, the secret of true freedom and comparing aging mindsets. So, how do we actually break free from this cycle? Well, it helps to look at the long-term effects of our choices. If we compare a few different aging mindsets, a pretty clear pattern emerges. First, you've got the chaser. This is an 84-year-old friend of his who is still absolutely miserable because his neighbor has a nicer car. 84 years old and still keeping score. Then there's the complainer, a 79-year-old who is just constantly unhappy, sitting around waiting for the outside world to swoop in and fix her problems. But then we have the present. This is his 86-year-old friend Earl.
Earl has pretty bad health, he's living on a fixed income, but you know what? He is deeply grateful, incredibly curious, and possesses this immense, unshakable peace.
Earl said something so profound to William. He said, I spent 60 years trying to be somebody. Now I'm just trying to be here, and it's so much better. Wow. That is the ultimate realization right there. Stopping the chase is truly the only way to find happiness. You can't catch happiness by running after it. You only ever find it when you finally stop running. And this brings us to a total redefinition of the word freedom. Based on William's incredibly hard-learned lesson, real freedom is not needing anything outside of you to be okay inside of you. Think about that. True freedom is when things like nasty comments or what other people think just don't bother you anymore. They roll right off you. It's this internal state where you can look in the mirror, fully accept exactly who is looking back at you, and realize, hey, I don't need anyone's external validation to feel complete. This really exposes what we call the illusion of security. Just look at the logic flow here. Step 1. William pays off his house at age 58. Step 2. He naturally assumes he's finally going to feel free and relaxed. But watch what happens in step 3. The fear instantly attaches itself to something else. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he's terrified about his retirement savings and future healthcare costs. It isn't until step 4 that he realizes the truth. Fear only leaves when you decide to change internally. Changing your outside circumstances, like, say, paying off a massive mortgage, never actually cures your internal anxiety. The fear is just going to find a new host until you change your mindset. Section 4, you are already enough, and our ultimate takeaway. This leads us directly to the single most empowering epiphany of William's entire story. The journey is the destination. Look, if you can't find at least a little bit of peace on the way to your goals, I promise you, you absolutely will not find it when you arrive at them. The arrival never, ever feels the way you think it's going to feel. If you're holding out, waiting until everything is perfectly aligned to be happy, you are going to be waiting forever. Life is happening right here, right now, right in the middle of all the mess. So here is the absolute most crucial point. Stop postponing your life. Seriously, stop telling yourself, I'll be happy when. Stop looking for safety and worth in a fancy job title or a giant bank account. Accept right now, in this exact moment, that you do not have to earn your worth. Decide that you are enough right now, today, exactly as you are. Feelings of safety, worthiness, and love, those are an inside job. It's a permission slip you have to write for yourself. Literally, no one else can give it to you, and no amount of money on earth can buy it for you. I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. What is your I'll be happy when? And what would actually change in your life today if you just decided you were already enough, right now? I really challenge you to stop grinding yourself into dust. Just stop running long enough to notice that you're already whole and everything you've been desperately looking for is already right inside you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I truly hope this helps you stop the chase. See you next time.